done? What came over me? Who am I? It was wonderful. I loved every minute of it, but...
She made us laugh, made us cry, and for more than 50 years Sally Field loved with all her heart to movie stars like Gidget, Norma Ray, and Forrest Gump. She brought fire, grace, and being honest in every job. But now there's behind the scenes. There is quiet talk that something really bad is happening to Sally. There are more and more worries about her health. And longtime fans are very worried. So what's going on is Sally Field saying goodbye brought her sad past into the light to her most sad news. Click here, join us as we find out the truth behind Sally's hardest part so far was a trouble growing up behind Sally Field's fame was born in on November 6, 1946, and Margaret's mother lived in Pasadena, California. Field was an actor, and her dad, Richard Field, worked as a chemist, and also during World War II, they split up. 1950, she was only a child. In 1952 her mom got married to Jock Mahoney in Tijuana, Mexico. He did stunt work and was an actress. Richard Dryden was Sally's brother, Field Jr., who later became a scientist. On her family tree goes back to her dad's side. She also knew English when she got back to Sicily. With Irish roots, Sally went to Portola, going to middle school, and then to Birmingham. She went to Venice High School, and she was a cheerleader in school. Some of her friends became famous afterward. Like Michael Hoyts and Millen, Cindy Williams was behind by a year. But Sally seemed like a normal person. Schoolgirl on the outside looking at home were not the same in her 2018 in her book Pieces. She wrote about painful, she wrote honest things about her life. She was mistreated by her stepfather Jock Mahoney. He would play with her when she was little, ask her to come into his room, walk on his back, and then he'd flip over and touch her as she walked over him, one foot in front of the other up his chest. I snuck out of bed. His hand slid as his dress fell loose over my legs and then moved up to stay away, but she didn't know what to do, whisper, lower, lower. It would have been one thing if he had hit me hard and read I asked him to love me, but he didn't. Because he loved me? She wrote that when she was 14, the abuse stopped, but that she would always remember that she felt pain as an adult, even as she became well-known and rose to fame. Sally Field started her career on her first big part on TV was in The Gidget, was a comedy show that ran from 1965 to 1966. She was in from 1967 to 1970. Flying Nun and The Girl was something extra from 1973 to 1974. But her first movie was before that. She was an extra in the movie Moon Pilot. After that, in 1962, she was in The Way West. 1967 Stay Hungry Smokey and the Bandit came out in 1976. 1977 Saw the End. 1978 and Hooper. 1978 became a real star with her help performance in Sybil. In 1976, it was as she won the Prime Award for her TV movie, Time Emmy Award for her strong performance, and in 1979, she won her first Oscar for her role as Norma Ray. She won her second Oscar in 1984 for Places in the. These awards showed that she was more heart, she was more than just a TV star. She also appeared in movies like Absence of Malice, that everyone knows, from 1981 to 1982. Murphy's Kiss Me Goodbye. 1985 Love Story. Steel Magnolias. 1989 Soap the Dish. In 1991 Mrs. Doubtfire. In 1993 and Forrest Gump in 1994. And in the 2000s she went back to TV, her guest spot on ER1. She won another Emmy in 2001. 2011 in the play, she played Nora Walker. She won the show Brothers and Sisters an Emmy for that too. She played Mary Todd Lincoln in the 2012 movie Lincoln, the one that got her another Oscar nomination. She played Aunt May in The Amazing Spider-Man in 2012, and the follow-up in 2014. Some of her other projects were Hello, My Name is Doris, and I'm an 80-year-old woman who lived in 2015 for Brady and 20, and the 2018 Netflix show Maniac, which brings up the question. Did you know that she also did stage work? She made her first show on Broadway in 2002. The Goat, or Who is Sylvia? In 2017, she came back with this play, earned her a Tony Award nomination. She was also in All My Sons in 2019 in London's West End, but even as her career took off, the pain of her behind the scenes, there are old and new problems, kept going back to her painful memories. Hollywood wasn't always like this kind of Sally Field. In her autobiography, she wrote that composer abused her. Jimmy Webb in 1968, she had passed out after they smoked together, and she woke up. She felt sick when she woke up to find him rubbing against her. She was puzzled and blamed herself. Maybe I had asked for this while lying on his bed. I thought I might not have pulled my pants down all the way up. So what did he think? After some time, Jimmy Webb said that they had, like many people, in a good relationship in their 20s. He denied what she said. Things happened, but for Sally, that moment was true, and it stuck in her mind. Also talked about another scary experience during an audition for a movie in 1976. She tried out for the movie. She said that the director of Stay Hungry, Bob Rafelson, told her he would only cast someone who could kiss well, so he must have liked the kiss. Then she wrote that Rafelson denied what she said he never made anyone kiss him. Get out of there. But Sally stood by her again. Story about these kinds of events were a lot for young women in Hollywood. Not many people talked about them, though. Sally did, but not until much later in life. She said that the more people saw that there was pain behind her success, and there was even more she had kept to herself, as she couldn't tell anyone her secret right away. Also, Sally Field showed another a secret moment from her youth. In 1964, she had been hiding for decades. She found out she was 17 years old. At the time, she was about to give birth, beginning her first big part on TV and gig. Her stepfather was the same man who had abused her and set up for her to have being in Mexico at the time of an abortion. In the U.S., abortion was against the law. Her mother and a family friend went with her, but she never told them her name of the guy who made her pregnant, but she said it was someone she met after high school. She kept the experience to herself and moved on. It helped her later in her work. For her to speak out in favor of rights to have children in 2022, she talked to different kinds of new laws that were taking away Americans' rights to have abortions. Those guys who did that, and most of the leaders are men who were people who do it, are so stupid and backward. She said, I'm really just power hungry. She thought those things were illegal. The success was being wiped out by the laws made for women, people of color, and the LGBTQ groups Sally Field she has been fighting softly all her life. And now, as she began to tell the truth, everyone saw how strong she was. Even when she was in pain on a plane, it could have been the end of everything. In 1988, Sally Field was very close to giving up her life. She and her husband Alan and his wife's 11-month-old son Sam were all on a private jet owned by MV Griffin. They were about to when the worst happened. take a trip as the plane tried to take off quickly. It went off the road and hit another parked plane close, but someone died. But it was a scary know that the plane didn't go off, but it was full of jet fuel. And everyone on Sally later said that the board was covered. People magazine. All I could think about was, Sam, hold on tight. I didn't care if I broke you. Every bone in my body. She thought. She may have hurt her baby during that crash, but luckily Sam was okay. It doesn't make sense that the plane didn't blow up. That doesn't make sense. We're still alive, and I have to stay alive. Being that way, she said that moment woke her up. It wasn't just about to stay alive. It was about being a mother, wife, and thinking about dying in a not even a second. But that wouldn't be when Sally last had to deal with something it hurt, that her love life had its own many of the ups and downs, stayed a complex past, was kept secret for years in the 1960s and 1970s with love, and guys, everything was going well for Sally Field. And one of the first things she did was go on dates. Lee Major, an actor, was linked to her. Both of them were rising at the time celebs. Even though they weren't dating according to a story from 1972, they were together for a long time afterward. Talked about their time together in this song, Unknown Stuntman, was the Fall Guys theme song, and he bragged in the words, "I've been on fire. I had a date with Sally Field." Truth be told, it made people believe it was true before that. In 1967, Sally went out with Pete Duell, who cheated on her brother-in-law on gig when they were dating began after the show finished, and then Sally said in an interview that year that it wasn't a real thing, man. We're having fun, it was just fun, which is very uncommon. Why won't they just leave it alone? On December, their sad story came to an end. Pete Duell killed himself on January 31st, 1971. After many years, Sally told everyone how in a film from 2007, "I love Pete, I loved him. God bless him, he was loved. Poor guy, he's not even alive. He was rude to her," she said. Sister, even though she had some other, that she also had a short getting along with Davy Jones from the Monkees, weren't the only ones. But Sally, they had a great time and laughed a lot. "We laugh a lot together, and just she had fun with it, and the talk was fun, but not everything was." Later, Sally said that some members there were sexual jokes among the Monkees about she met her on the set of The Flying Nun. Said they even squished her in her trailer, and she needed help from as an assistant. Over the years, some of the relationships went on, but she didn't talk about the scars she got. Up until a long time later, talking about which even Sally became a big star, continued to deal with problems behind closed walls, marriage, motherhood, and as time went on, Sally got married in 1968. Stephen Craig was her high school boyfriend. He wasn't a movie star. He worked in building, but they stayed together in the early days of her fame when she was making the Flying Nun movie. Gained the weight of their first son Peter, who was born in November 1969. In May, their second son Eli was born. 1972, the end of their marriage. 1975. But not much is known about why for their breakup. But after years, Peter's son talked about what it was like. "I knew early on because I grew up with them, that my mom wasn't like other moms said, and my dad wasn't really like among other dads. He called both of his parents exciting, and he said that meeting them felt very bad. By that time, he wrote his own books and got married to an artist. This is what takes place when you have parents who are always making a scene." Sally later got married to Alan Griezmann. man she was with on the 1988 plane crash. That's when their son Sam was born. Getting married, Sally's relationships where you never just talked about what did you know, that she almost went out with Steven Spielberg and Sally Field in the 1970s. As she became a star, she was also heads everywhere, and one of those who saw that she was a young director named Steven Spielberg while he was giving Spielberg with the Vanguard Award at the Palm Springs Film Awards. Sally told everyone a strange story she told. They almost went on a date many years ago. My newly bought a business manager asked me to meet one of his clients because I thought we'd really hit it off. It's off, she said, and the meeting was set up at Universal Studios, but the still Sally, it never really happened. My friend Steven Spielberg has, after many years, they were together again. Worked together on the movie Lincoln, 2012. What Sally did as married Todd Lincoln, their friendship stayed strong through the decades that Spielberg himself praised in 2022. Telling the town she was brave to typecast her, and got past every he praised her bravery through the barrier, clever moves, and her long-lasting power in. But while Sally and Spielberg were in Hollywood, never got together, with her next getting together would take over the news for years and leave deep the rough love with leaves mental scars. Scott Field met Burt Reynolds. Reynolds while he was making Smokey and the Ant in 1977. She played the part of which helped get her movie off the ground. It was also the beginning of a long having a rough time with Reynolds. They went out together on and off until the late in the 1970s and 1980s. They even worked together once more in Hooper 1978, but this time behind the scenes. Their relationship wasn't easy. Sally says that Burt might be tough when she was named for an Oscar for Norma Ray, but he didn't go the event with her. He wasn't a nice guy around me at the time, she remembered. Sally still went to the Oscars with her first Academy Award on her own. After many years, right before he died in 2018, Burt told Sally she was the one who ran away and said she didn't believe it in his life. In an interview with Variety in 2022, she said, "I could not be with him. In any way, it was bad for me." She thought Burt was changing his mind about them, getting closer and making it sound better. It seemed worse than it was. This wasn't the only Sally had to remember what love meant to her. I meant her other relationships as well brought some new lessons to light. Heavy in the early 1980s, Sally Field Kevin Kline for a short time. They met after she was done shooting Kiss Me Goodbye in 1982. Around the same time, Kline had worked with Miles Strow on Sophie's Choice. A lot of people thought they looked great together, but they broke up after only a short time. Went on some dates even though they were young. Is known about what took place. Sally's words from a 1984. She gave away a hint when she said, I don't want to play any part besides the one she added, I chose to play on screen. Don't want to feel like I have to follow the rules. Anyone else's rules but my own. That remark showed that she was changing mind. Sally was no longer ready to not talk or second to anyone. Even if she talked about Kline or thought about it, was clear that Burt Reynolds was. Are you done being the one who helped more? At the same time, she went on a few. There were dates with Johnny Carson, but that doesn't work out for Sally. When she wants to end, she couldn't say no to some things. So Carson was told that she was having a nervous breakdown and being sent away after many years. On Watch What Happens Live in 2019, she laughed as she thought about it. The only way for me to escape was to tell everyone I was crazy. Was a funny tale that also showed how it had been hard for her to set. That was the start of the changes in the lines. A second marriage ends. Sally's first one. Stephen Craig was her high school sweetheart. In 1968, they got married after being school sweethearts. He wasn't in the Hollywood scene. Working in building during the As the Flying Nun, Sally was being filmed, ready to have their first child, Peter, who was born in 1969, and is their second son. Eli was born in 1972. In 1975, they got a divorce, but Sally didn't go. Talk a lot about that part, but her son Peter once talked about what it was like having grown up with him. I knew from the start that my mom wasn't like other moms, and my dad wasn't like other dads. He said in an interview in 1998, explained that having parents who were dramatic had many effects on his life. In the early 1980s, Sally met Alan, a film director. Met at a place. They didn't choose dates right away. It took a year and a half. But what they did, they got married and had in 1987, they had a boy named Sam. But this marriage too didn't last. By 1994, they were in 1996 that they were divorced. Sally told what went wrong. He went out to hang out with people, or I couldn't take it. She said about going to parties. Said she began to feel anxious, and instead of feeling like their home had lost its joy, being grateful for what we cared about, and we both focused on the bad things. She said, but they stayed. Focused on bringing up Sam with actress Kate Capshaw, who is married to Steven Spielberg, said, they do a great job of getting divorced. Co-parenting. Even after 2 weddings, and a lot of Sally didn't give up on high-profile relationships. She gave up on love, but she began to take a back away from the attention, and from in 1995, dating and living alone at last, Sally showed up in public with someone new. She went to the first episode of Waterworld star Jerry Knight, did work as a tech on the movie, and in the same year, she also worked in the TV. Took him to the Emmys. On the red, they smiled and held hands. Carpet,